Let's talk about how to stay on track. Welcome to Strong for Life Live. Today we're going to have a little discussion around the poll and everyone's answers on Monday, and talk about how we can stay on track with our goals, what it takes to stay on track, some systems we can implement. But first and foremost, of course, invite your friends. We're here. We're doing a good job. Everyone is helping each other, supporting each other. The group is growing, but there's always people who need a bit more help. So if you got any friends, family, neighbors, people you meet at Walmart, anyone you're like, hey, maybe you need a helping hand, bring them in, and we'll share some cool recipes with them and help support them in their health and fitness journeys. So without further ado, let's have a little think about this week's question. So let me bring that up here. This week's question was, how do you deal with the temptations that will derail your health and fitness goals? We had a range of answers there, and of course, this is probably one of the hardest things about getting where we want to be. So let's dig into some of those answers. All right. So first answer was, I eat the cake. And a number of people, almost actually 50% of people, basically said that they are happy to enjoy the treat. I think most of them probably didn't understand the question, because it says, how do you deal with the temptations that will derail your health and fitness goals? And if it's true that 44% of you are just going to go ahead and actively derail yourselves, then, well, you're going to have to just keep starting over. And that isn't good. That's not where we want to be. So let's see what other people. A few people said they never take the easy path, for I am David Goggins. And truth of the matter is, there's only one David Goggins. There's very few people who can live that life. But we need a David Goggins in the world so that we can look up and see that soaring eagle and go, man, what a guy. What a great example. But personally, I feel like that is not the life for me, because there are things in life that are more enjoyable than pure sacrifice, pure effort. Not all of us want to live that life. Some of us want to enjoy some of the good things too, and food is a big one for me. But ultimately, the things I want to get out of life, the goals, are going to be bigger than almost any food and food choice that I make. I'm going to go for the goals. So let's look at some of these other answers here. So someone else said, I have someone to keep me accountable. We got a few people working with coaches, working with mentors, and people who are there to support them. Accountability buddies is a great one. And unfortunately, one I was a little surprised about, there's only 2 people who said, my why is too strong. And that's just it. David Goggins is the why. David Goggins has the most powerful why, and he's proving to himself, whatever that why is, every single day. And we can hold him up as the patron saint of effort towards a goal, but some of us are going to just fall somewhere beneath that. So a few of these answers really said, I depend, or it depends on where I'm at. How strong they're feeling at the time. If it's PMS, they eat the cake. Let's see here. Some people preaching moderation. Some people have a little internal person yelling at them. It's interesting to look at this. So many people said, I eat the cake. But I don't think they understood that the question here was, even if you know it's going to derail. And I think most people only see that after the fact, which takes accountability, and it takes systems to stop that from happening in the first place. So I find that interesting. Abby had a really good one. She said she looks for an alternative that will satisfy my sweet tooth but not derail my goals. And that is, I think, the best solution for most people. And this is where we have things that often get demonized. Things like diet sodas, sugar-free sweets. And because we are just essentially fancy apes, some of these drives that drive us for sweet things and for certain types of foods and flavor profiles and experiences are so strong that many people cannot just say no. They have to find an alternative. And, we can look at things like, well, how do we make that healthy? Or how do we make that neutral? I think most of the sugar-free and the calorie-free versions of these treats are the neutral option. They don't necessarily help us progress. They don't really hold us back. They might even be slightly beneficial. Excuse me. They might even be slightly beneficial because they allow us to keep moving forward without actually giving in to the derailment, the cake that derails our fat loss goals or sets off a binge. And that's a good thing. We have those options. The wonderful recipes that Abby has been sharing in the group, the high protein and macro friendly dessert options. Those are great as long as we use them as a substitute, as long as we don't just use them as another sweet thing that we eat too much of, that we can't control. So we need to figure out systems, and we need to figure out swaps. And I just released my Eat Like an Adult infographic this week, which I think is a fantastic resource. And one of the key features of eating like an adult is choosing better. Choosing better doesn't mean always having the perfect thing. We're not going to let perfect be the enemy of the good. When we have two options to choose from, a sugar-free soda versus a full-sugared soda, a high-protein dessert versus a low-protein dessert, we choose the better option. And that's really one of the key features of being an adult. If you're sitting there and you're going, if I eat this cake, it throws off all my effort, and you choose to eat the cake, you are your own worst enemy. Because where you're at in your life is always going to be a direct reflection of the decisions you make. What we want to do to eat like an adult is look at that cake and say, what's better? I'm going to eat something. I'm going to eat a smaller portion. Is there a sugar-free version? Is there a high-protein version? Is there something that is better as opposed to, I know this is going to derail me. I know this is not going to benefit me. I'm going to choose the bad option because of the mouthfeel, because of the mouth pleasure. That's very different than saying, I know I'm going out for a social event and I know that there will be things there that are not beneficial for me, but I'm going to enjoy them because I want to enjoy this. And if you've done it all well, you've accounted for it during the week. And I have lots of clients who do this very well, where they're like, Saturday is going to be big. I'm going to shave off and save some extra calories for them. And that's usually pretty simple for people. So, if I say take 100, 150 calories off each day, that's one less slice of bread with butter. 150, 200 calories there. You eat one less slice of bread each day, which I don't think most people will miss. That can give you 500 or 600 extra calories to stay in balance for the week. That's an adult thing to do, to say, I know something is coming up. I need to save some resources for that. And then I can enjoy it better, because not only am I going to be able to eat the delicious things and have the social occasion and drink the delicious things, but I've accounted for them and it's not going to send me off track. And ultimately, that's what we need to do. So when you're seeing those temptations, if you know they're coming, plan for them. I'm trying to think. There's been a couple check-ins today that I've gone through. One of my clients, Steve, Abby's really good at this. Gemma does this pretty well too, where we look at what's coming up. We know Saturday is going to be pizza night. And so we account for it. We make sure that fits into our plan. And that's going to mean we're going to enjoy what we want to enjoy while still reaching the goals. So, you can be David Goggins and just refuse all enjoyments. You can do the opposite, the anti-David Goggins. The anti-Goggins just eats the cake regardless of how that actually benefits them or makes them feel beyond the 10 seconds it takes to chew it up. Some people have an accountability buddy. Some people are so steadfast in their why, their purpose for what they do, it's not an option. But there is a middle path, the Buddha path, where you find balance. You account for it. Another part of eating like an adult is understanding what a treat is. If you have the same treat, in air quotes, every day or every week at the same time, it's not a treat. You don't get to treat yourself for existing. That's just your diet. And again, as soon as you realize that that's just the way you eat, you can find balance with that. You can make room in your diet throughout the week for your Saturday enjoyment meal. Thursday evenings are takeaway. That's when my family has takeaway. And it's great, and we love it. Sometimes it's kebabs, sometimes it is curries, sometimes, on one lucky day, it's a poutine, the greatest of all foods. And that's just the way it is. That's actually part of our diet. We have a calculator. We put in a day in which we get to eat stuff that we don't make ourselves. And that's both a budgetary thing, it's a convenience thing, but it's an enjoyment thing too. And if you know every weekend's going to be like that, account for it during the week. And you can still see your muscle gain and your fat loss goals. We just got to find that balance. We just got to eat like adults. So some good conversation around that. And obviously there's a few people who recognize where their weaknesses are and their challenges are. And it's great to say, it's like an addiction. If you can say, this is where I lack, this is where I have struggle, that's the first step in addressing it and making it no longer a struggle. And so we can create these systems of swapping out, of accountability or coaching, of balancing it for nutrients, macros, calories across the week. All those are valid options. But to sit there and say, I'm going to do the thing I know is not good for me, and I'm fully aware of it, and then I'm probably going to complain about it later, that's a cop-out. And I think you could do better. So moving on from that one and sort of on the same topic, just check and see if I missed any comments here. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Nope. I did have a good question here from Michael Roeder. And so he wasn't going to be able to make it. And he left a question in the comments. And he says, what motivates you to stay on task? And geez, that's a tough one. We've had a few good talks about motivation. And we've had a few good talks about discipline and where those sort of fall on a sliding scale. And the question, what motivates you to stay on task? Well, it just sort of depends. So this is the Become Strong for Life group. Our collective purpose, why, is to be capable of undertaking all the adventures that life offers, whatever ones we like. And for me, that's what keeps me going. Like, I just had a archery competition on the weekend. I did 2 days of traditional archery. And by the way, I am the Tasmania State traditional archery champion now. So feel pretty good about that. But that was my why for the last little while. Everything I did when it comes to my training was based on being able to perform archery well. I had a why, a strong why, a time-bound why, a specific goal that ended on a specific date. If you don't have a timeline, you're going to have a very, very hard time staying on task for very long. So, goal setting. And I put an article in this group a few weeks back on, SMART goals. Smart goal setting. Goals that are specific and measurable and achievable and time-bound. And if you don't have those elements, it's not really a goal. It's just kind of a wish or a dream. I want to lose weight. What does that mean? What if I took your bones away? You'd lose weight. Is that what you want? No. What if you got really weak and lost all your muscle mass? Is that what you want? No, but that's weight loss. No, I want to lose fat. Well, how much fat? All of it? What do you want to look like? Understanding specific goals, setting specific goals, attaching them to a timeline. So many people are like, I want to lose some fat. Okay. When? Oh, just eventually. How many people have been saying that for years? But if you were to say, I want to lose 1 pound, 500 grams of fat in 1 week. Specific, it's very measurable, it's achievable, and it's time bound. You can actually act on that. And so having goals set up that are time bound, it makes it so much easier to stay focused. So archery is my big focus for the foreseeable future. I'm not doing any more strength sports or combat sports right now. I have an opportunity for a 2-day like backpack in backcountry pig hunt, bow hunt in April. So everything I'm doing now is about getting me ready for that. So I have very specific goals. And so I need to stay on track because otherwise I will fail. But so many people are terrified of failure to the point that they won't even set themselves up to try for fear of failing. I have failed so many things. I have put myself out there. If you were paying attention last year through socials, like I signed up and did a strongman competition for the sole purpose of competing against my nemesis, Shawnee, who we're going to be seeing and hearing more from very soon. I did not win. I worked very hard, trained very hard, put a lot of effort in outside of my normal busy life to give it my best. And I lost. I lost spectacularly. Not that it was a terrible loss, but that it was a very eventful and memorable challenge. And if you haven't seen the video, I'll post it in here. But I passed out in my effort on the log press and just lost out on the deadlift by 15 kilos. And we're both better for it. But you have to have the option to fail. You need to set yourself up to succeed, but you have to set goals to really stay focused that have the chance of failure, because that is also motivation. And this is where accountability comes in, and accountability systems, and having a coach or accountability buddy or a wager or putting things on social media, putting it out there, because that's more motivation to succeed. But it doesn't mean you will, but we sure want to. So creating these concrete and measurable and time-bound goals helps keep us on track and gives motivation. But we have to put them out there too. Somebody else needs to know. I was chatting with a friend who's going for a cut, weight loss. And I said, well, what's your plan? When do you need to do this by? Who knows about it? And I had her set a wager, a money wager. She puts aside X amount of dollars each week into a fund. She gets to use it on whatever she wants if she succeeds in her goal by the end date. If she doesn't, her partner gets it and he gets to do whatever he wants. So having accountability systems, having voiced your goals, but first having set those goals and made them something that is important and valuable to you is going to keep you on task. I was chatting with another friend who was doing one of those arbitrary discipline enforcing challenges, 75 hard, where for 75 days you have to read 10 pages in a book and you have to do 2 45-minute workouts. You have to drink a gallon of water, and you go, well, why? Like, it's discipline. And so many people fail because there's no real application for that. Some people need that, but if you can't keep that kind of thing up afterwards, where's the benefit? If you have no application for it, if you can't apply it to something in life that you want to achieve, climbing mountains, playing with your kids, sports, whatever it is, if there's no context and application, it's so hard to stay focused. And so many people fall off because they're like, I have to drink 4 liters of water every day. It's like, no, you don't. That's silly. It's actually dangerous in some cases. Not real dangerous, but it's one of those things that just has almost no benefit for people. There's like 6 people who really need 4 liters of water. So, what motivates me to stay on task? Applicability, keeping everything focused on what I want to achieve, making sure that I'm not just working out and crushing myself for no reason whatsoever, but having application, having accountability. And if you guys, everyone's got their eyes on me. I have to be living what I preach. That's called skin in the game. Having smart goals, time-bound, achievable, realistic, and measurable. They have to be measurable. So those types of things make it so much easier to hit your goals, to stay focused. Endless motivation doesn't exist. You know, people go to the gym for 6 months after the new year and then they drop off because they haven't seen what they wanted to see, but they didn't set out with a real plan. They didn't set out with an end date and goals and check marks and checkpoints and levels that you have to go through. They didn't set out with an actual plan on how to get there week by week. They just went and started running in the hamster wheel, hoping for the best. And so really creating those systems and those plans will help us, just like we need to create those systems and plans to deal with the temptations of things that will derail our progress each and every day and every week. And understanding balance and how to find that in your diet and your lifestyle. And I think more than anything, accountability. We need to be accountable to a community, to people, to mentors, to coaches, because otherwise there's no skin in the game. There's no stakes. And you have nothing to lose. Then you're probably not going to do it. So make a wager. Tell the whole world what you're doing and risk embarrassing yourself if you don't do it. Because we have to have the option of failure if we really want to succeed. So I hope that doesn't just raise more questions, which you're always able to ask. You could always reach out, but hopefully that gives you some idea where I'm coming from and some ideas on how to create those structures. And if you've made it this far, I'd love to hear in the comments your thoughts on that. And how are you going to do better in creating those systems to keep yourself on track? You know, ultimately, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. We are responsible for what we do in life. And with that responsibility, I hope comes belief that you can do what you want, what you set out to do, that you could do at least better, that you can improve your situation. And of course, you've got the support and community here in the Become Strong for Life Facebook group. You know, feel free to reach out. I'd love to see more challenges. People, what are you struggling with? Throw that into the group chat. Let's all break it down and see how we can help. Create some accountability, come up with good ideas. That's what we're here for. Right. So we'll leave it there. Just want to shout out to a few of my clients that have been killing it this week. Nicole, she's here in the group, and she posted that awesome chicken congee recipe. It's getting cool here now in Tasmania. It's autumn, and so going into soup, stew, and porridge season, congee is such a good recipe. And I was just chatting with her about when I used to do a lot of spearfishing up in Victoria on the mainland here in Australia. I used to gather a lot of abalone and make an abalone and chicken congee. And congee is a rice porridge. It's a very warm and wholesome and nourishing thing full of broth and vegetables and meats, and it's really nice. Definitely worth checking out that recipe. So shout out to Nick on putting that in the group. Great idea. I also wanted to shout out to Rhiannon, who's one of my clients who has started a new job recently. So congrats on that, but also congrats on finding that balance. It's so hard when you start a new job to find the balance with the stresses of new people, new systems, new work hours, and still getting your workouts in. So congrats there. And then, of course, shout out to Greg, who is off his blood pressure medication. So that was one of his goals when he first started training with me. And he's in the group, and he posted that end of last week, I think it was. And his doctor put him on a trial off of his blood pressure medications. And if all continues as it is, he won't have to go back on those. And that's such an awesome metric for success. You're one of the most foundational metrics of health, your blood pressure. Seeing that improve, getting to go off medication is a big win. And that's due to the effort he put in. He put in the work, and he's healthier because of it. So well done, Greg. And of course, I'd like to see some conversation around some of these talking points in the comments. So throw any questions or thoughts or arguments if you disagree with me in the comments. And let's get the conversation started. And if you have anything personal that you don't want to put in there, feel free to shoot me a message and we can chat there. So thanks for tuning in to this week's Strong for Life Live. And hopefully this has helped you deal with some of the challenges of staying on track. We'll see you next week.